the latest segment of the Mandalorian armor is finished, I'm going to set that project aside for a bit and start my next fairly major build over here at the workshop. That will be the new 1/1000th scale USS Enterprise NCC 1701 as seen in Star Trek Discovery. I will be using the photo etch and bridge insert from ParaGrafix, as well as the round 2 lighting kit and the Aztecs from round 2. This kit is a fairly good sized kit. Size-wise, it's actually comparable to the old 1/650th kit. It's well engineered. The angled struts definitely set it apart from its original series counterpart. There's a lot of nice detail in the parts, and plenty of clear parts to facilitate the lighting that we're going to be doing. Now, one change I am going to make, instead of using the red domes that come with the lighting kit, I'm going to use the kit supplied domes and go for more of an orangish tint to be more faithful to what we actually see on screen. I've seen this done a couple of different times, and I think it'll actually turn out pretty good. Now, on the subject of modifications, I will not be using the hangar bay, mostly because I don't see a need to have it open. That, and I don't have any shuttlecraft to put it in anyway. The bridge module, oh good, we're actually seeing a lot of the detail there, is very well detailed for the size. Of course, it's cast in clear. Yeah, actually cast, no, it's actually 3D printed according to what Paul over at ParaGrafix has said. As you can see, it's got the screens on there. The idea here is you paint it, then you can scrape the paint off the screens to better light it. The kit base is nice round 2 dome, only instead of a pole, we actually have a hollow tube. Now for the lighting kit, some of the ribs on the underside will need to be removed, but I'm looking forward to getting started on this. Really eager to see how it turns out. All right, first little progress update on the Enterprise. Started light blocking with the blue clear nacelle ends. I've hit that with coats of black, a couple of coats of dark, well, a coat of black, a coat of dark gray primer. That was actually the first coat on both the inside and the outside, and then some Vallejo gunmetal on the outside. For the saucer and the secondary hull, as well as the nacelles, I've done a coat of dark gray primer, coat of black, and followed those with a coat of Plat FX metallic armor to help increase reflectiveness inside as well as continue the light blocking. Now, if you look closely, oh, I need this top of the saucer. Yeah, there we go. You can see some blocks of tape. Those are to block off the 4 lights that should shine through on the top of the saucer. Basically, I'm just going to use the Raytheon effect to get that to work. I have also gone through with a torch and annealed the photo etch brass per advice from ParaGrafix. We're getting there. It doesn't look like much, but we're getting there. All right, continuing prep work on the Enterprise. I've gone in with a custom mix of Citadel's clear amber and clear red to paint in the Bussard collector domes. The ends of the nacelles are waiting for the installation of those end caps from the photo etch set, but the main color is now Citadel's lead belcher. The shuttle bay, as you can see, I've painted most of it. I have masked off where the decal is going to be so I can keep it glowing. The rest of it has been given 3 coats of black to light block and then a coat of lead belcher. The bridge was painted in with a couple of coats of black for light blocking, then a couple of coats of lead belcher for base color. The rails in the front of the nav console were hit with red using a very fine tip brush. Then I gave the whole thing a coat of Citadel's dark shade clear. And then I went in, and on a couple of them you can see where I've scraped off the paint on the screens so that the light will show through when the time comes, or should show through. All in all, we are getting there. All right, next stage of construction is going. In this case, the insertion of the clear window pieces on the saucer and secondary hull sections. The white bits you're seeing there are actually PVA glue, which I am using in lieu of anything else to avoid fogging the windows, especially the piece here. As you can see, the bridge is now glued in place as well. And if I can clear the glare, yeah, you can make it out. It does show. I apologize for the shaking. It does show in there. A bit tedious, but at the same time, it's getting stuff done. And now we have both nacelles wired up and ready to go. At this point, it'll be time to close them up and continue on. All right, and here we have a pair of completed nacelles, at least as far as construction goes. Next stop will be to start feeding all that wiring through the nacelle struts. All right, as you can see, I've got the nacelle struts in the clamps. I have fed the wiring through the nacelles, or through the struts. So those are basically ready to be installed into the secondary hull, which will be the last thing I actually do construction-wise. I've also got the lighting wired for the saucer. I have tested to make sure all the lights work, which I'm happy to say they do. Next step for the saucer will be to put the two halves together. One of the harnesses does send a piece down through the neck to be linked up to one of the other remaining harnesses. Scary, but working. All right, as you can see, I've got the nacelles glued into the opposing halves of the secondary hull. I've also got all the lighting in place in the secondary hull, as well as having pulled the leads through on both halves. At this point, next step is going to be to start hooking things up and then get the saucer ready to go, which is over there in the clamps for the one area that didn't want to snap closed, i.e. the impulse engine. All right, final test before closing everything up. Nacelles are all working. Interior lights for the secondary hull are working. At this point, it's time to button that up and then put the saucer on. All right, at this stage, basic assembly is finished. As you can see, there's surprisingly little light leak. You can actually make out the bridge and a couple of the screens even. Nacelle fans are working lovely. It's only temporarily hooked up because, of course, I still have to do the, I still have to do all the Aztecing. But at this point, we're successful to here. All right, real quick update. As you can see, I'm in the midst of arguably the most time-consuming process of this build. That being the application of the Aztec decals. As I mentioned when I started this build, these are the round 2 Aztecs. They do not like to slide on the plastic, but that may just be something to do with my soaking method. They are working wonderfully, saving me a ton of time as far as this versus masking would be. I'll be going in later and painting in the windows on the struts, as well as darkening the triangle sections there. But that's where we're sitting at the moment. Okay, as you can see, the Aztecs are down. I've just got some little details to do, and then it'll be time to lay down the registry and seal this baby up. One of the bigger things I need to do is go in and put a wash to bring out the details in there. I also still need to go in and pick out the lights in the struts. But I'm very happy with how the Aztecs went down. The only problems I really had were my own impatience actually letting the decals loosen up. Do need to be careful with them, because of course you got some large decals that do need to line up. All in all though, we're really close. All right. After much to do getting the electronics installed and getting the Aztecs applied, that faint buzzing sound you're hearing in the background, says we're done. So without further ado, I give you the Discovery version of the USS Enterprise NCC 1701 Constitution class with factory lighting, factory Aztecs. Couple of modifications. The top of the saucer there, you see the photo etch from ParaGrafix. Just inside, if I can make this thing focus, you can make out the detail of the bridge. We've got the nacelle fans running, grills on the warp nacelles, lovely factory lights going. Impulse engines are lit. Oddly enough, even though they're behind a red lens, they look kind of pink. That's got to be the color they used on for the plastic. The nacelle domes were actually painted from the clear versions. Got the grills showing. Well, got the grills on the backs of the nacelles to give the light blocking rather than actually trying to paint the light blocking. Can't really see a lot of the underneath because of the darkness, but you got your markings in place. All the lights are in place. I didn't, we don't have flashing lights for the navigator markers. That's one drawback, if you will, to the lighting kit. I'm not going to complain. It saved me the trouble of having to wire this all together. One warning I will give is the cram foo required to get all the wiring into the secondary hull and get the secondary hull closed. I went in and used some transparent black to help pick out the grills on the struts. I also went in and with some white followed by clear black picked out the lights on the struts that are not lit. All in all, though, I am very happy with how this has turned out. Unlike the JJ Prize, I consider this one to be a very faithful update to our classic TOS version. And before I start rambling some more, I'm going to put some stills at the end of this and thank you all for watching.